always introduce them, Ajay Fry, so let's just bring up our guest. It's Ed Boon! Yeah! There you go. Welcome to Toronto. Have a seat.
Thank you.
We have this cool box to throw out into the crowd for questions later. But I'm going to hit you with a few to start. Just looking around the room at all this artwork and these characters, I think big or epic is one of the key words associated to Injustice and Injustice 2. So what are the biggest changes or differences that we're going to get with this sequel compared to the original?
Off the top of my head, we've established this really cool story that has been, taken over also by an amazing comic book line. So we're continuing that story. That's a big thing. We're adding characters, and we're doing basically what we hope everybody wants to see Injustice do, and then we're adding something that we really want to surprise players with, and that's what we're calling our gear system. Gear is like basically thousands and thousands of costume pieces per character scattered throughout the game that you get drops of that you can equip your player with, and not only does the character look different, but he plays different also, so you can unlock special moves and make your character look and play, your customized version of Superman, Batman, Atrocitus, Dr. Fate, Flash, Wonder Woman, right. Custom version of these DC heroes. That is really what separates Injustice 2 from 1 and all other fighting games, really.
But what is it like working with these larger-than-life characters that have this lore? I mean, you've created characters through Mortal Kombat that everyone has, known and grown to love over the years, but these are iconic characters that existed far before you came to play in this universe. So what's that like?
Yeah, it's a dream come true. I grew up in the day when, comic books, and then they just started making superhero movies. That first Superman movie, in the late 70s, Christopher Reeve, and then they started, the Batman movies, the Spider-Man movies. So I grew up loving those forms of media, seeing these heroes, and so it's a dream come true. I always loved the Flash from when I was a kid, and so to be able to represent these characters in this really realistic presentation has been a dream come true. DC's been great collaborators too with it.
Well, I imagine it's also a bit of a challenge because you want to tell your own story, and these are characters that do have their, people who care about them and companies that care about them, what you do. So was it a bit difficult at all? Was it a bit of a challenge?
Once we decided that we're going to do this alternate universe where, Superman's a bad guy, Batman's his adversary, and, it's kind of like the conflict between those two. That gave us a lot of creative license to kind of carve our own, alternate universe. And so right. DC really loosened the reins in terms of letting us do things that were, a little bit unexpected from these characters. And it's really caught on as the comic book has kind of shown, and this amazing mobile game that we've had. So it's become its own little universe there. So we're just kind of continuing, passing the torch with that.
Well, there's obviously the gameplay elements, the characters. Is there anything else that you think that has really led to the success of this franchise, that has caused it to resonate with fans of both fighting games and the DC universe overall?
Hopefully it's a combination of all those things. That we have a really unique story that we're telling, that continuing to tell. And again, it's showing these characters. Our story mode is this, really amazing, cinematic. It looks like you're playing a movie, and that presentation, everybody really wants to see, play that mode again, get to see what happens after Superman's incarcerated and everything like that. So I think it's a combination of just the presentation. If you look at our visuals, they're really really took a step up from the first Injustice game, and I think it's just a combination of all those. People love to see these characters presented this way.
Well, I know one of the characters that you love is the Flash. You were telling me earlier that it's one of your favorite characters growing up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there a character on the roster that has maybe surprised you or grown on you in the process of working on this project?
Yeah, a number of them. Atrocitus is a character I wasn't as familiar with, and as we did research on him and learned a lot more about him, he became one of my favorites easily. Swamp Thing is a big one that was requested from the previous game that we never got a chance to do, and again looking into what what that character's all about was just a great learning experience too.
I played a Swamp Thing earlier and Flash kicked my ass, so it was fun, but it was also a little disappointing on my part. You never disappoint your fans, though. You've been engaging with them on Twitter, on social media. You answer fan questions frequently. You give out beta codes as well. So why is it so important for you to have that relationship and immediate feedback with the fan base?
At some point, we just became aware that the interaction is a big thing that fans like to do. They love to campaign for their favorite character to be in the game, and and so it just became this thing where we were going back and forth. I started playing around with it and teasing people, and then that some people call it trolling, and then so they get so some people take it in good stride, some people get a little angry about it, but it's a lot of fun for me.
Questions for Ed, just raise your hand and I'll throw you this weird plushy microphone in a box that you can actually talk into and ask your question. I know it's kind of weird. Does anyone want the box? I'll throw it to you. Otherwise I'll ask Ed a few more. Did I hear a V? Look at us Canadians being so polite. Here in the front row, catch.
No, right. Okay, I was wondering, the gear drops, are those completely random, or is it specific challenges you're doing to get them? How does that work out?
Pretty much everything that you do in the game, other than one-on-one fighting, will get you gear drops. You're playing the story mode, you're going to do the gear drops. You're going to play the multiverse, you're going to get gear drops. And then there's also specific multiverses that will have a special, unique piece of gear that can only be obtained at that specific multiverse. So we have these events that will last for either an hour, a week, a day, and they will give you unique gear. So it's going to be a really fun search for these unique drops that will only be available at certain times of the day.
And how many different tiers, or did you just go over that? How many tiers of gear are there?
Oh, well, currently there's the rare, the epic, and the common,
okay.
and that might increase over time.
Ooh, moving on to like other levels, exotics. Any other questions from the crowd? Oh, right here. Here, catch the box. Oh, nice one.
And he drops his phone.
As the meta game starts to develop and as it becomes a more competitive game, as we like to see these games sort of become, are we going to be expecting like nerfs and buffs to sort of again rebalance the characters and such as like the more pro players start to really get into the game that you created?
Well, we always are constantly monitoring the game, seeing which characters, making sure things are balanced. Oftentimes, one character will be considered stronger than all the others until somebody finds a weakness, and then all of a sudden everybody moves over to another character. But if there is something inherently broken or anything, we have means of tweaking the variables in the game just to keep things fair.
But we know that the Flash is his favorite, so start with the Flash. Figure he's OP, and then move on. Any other questions from the crowd? Right back there. Oh, your way.
All right. I know one of the cool new features in Injustice 2 is rare skins, which basically allows you to like transform a character into someone else. Who came up with that idea, and what was like the thought process behind that?
I think the thought process behind it was characters that we wanted in the game but were too similar to the existing ones. Like for instance, Reverse Flash, we didn't really want to have two characters that were based on speed, but at the same time we really wanted to see that character in the game. And Flash in particular has a number of speedsters throughout the DC universe. So that was one of them. And Power Girl was another, and then like John Stewart, Green Lantern. So we really wanted to represent those characters, even though they had the same powers as their counterparts.
And I know going back to my days loving the original Mortal Kombat series, so much of the fun of that game was the surprising little secrets and codes and things. Are there going to be little things like that throughout Injustice 2?
Absolutely. I think it's like a NetherRealm Studios kind of signature feature to put in their games.
All right, well, don't spoil any for us. We'll find them on our own. Any more questions before we say thank you to Ed Boon and enjoy the rest of the party? No? So thank you, Ed Boon. Thanks for coming to Toronto.
Thank you for everybody for coming
Hopefully
out.
everyone's excited for Injustice 2, May 16th.